Hello, everyone. So my name is Monika Oczkowska. Today I would like to present you briefly our paper that we're preparing together with Michal, who is present here, and Kajetan, Trzciński, who is unfortunately only online, both from Center for Economic Analysis. Hopefully we'll get the slides that briefly. I'm going to talk about the social context and how important the social context and also the perceptions are for the incidence of gender-based differential treatment. Okay, and yes, thank you. Yes, here, I know, but okay. Yes. I will try to be quick in order to save some time for the discussion after Maria's paper. So let me start with general information on what kind of data we have in terms of prevalence of intimate partner violence. There are two main databases that cover most of the countries. One is the UN Women, and the other one is WHO. Here in this graph, the countries are similarly to Yasia's presentation. They are ranked based on the Gender Inequality Index. It's only the ranking, so the distance between the countries would be different if we took the exact values of the index. What is important here is that these databases, even though they do give us a lot of information, they are not perfect. First of all, they miss some countries, like Russia is not present in neither of them. Only WHO reports information on Belarus. But also this information is based on different surveys. They cover different years, different populations. They ask different questions. The reference period for experiencing IPV is also different in different countries. And there is one another thing that I would like to mention, especially with respect to this FROGEE survey that we conducted within our network, is that both these databases are based on questions asked directly to women, whether they were victims of intimate partner violence. And we do know there's a lot of underreporting there because of the nature of those questions. As we know, the questions on experiencing IPV, since they are delicate and there is the reprisal is possible, there is a lot of literature here. Just one example mentioned that actually advises to use indirect measures. So reporting whether you witnessed that abuse happened to other women. And this is actually how we phrase the questions in the FROGEE survey. And as you can see, please disregard maybe the levels of IPV reported here within the same countries, because this is not that important here. The important thing is the trend. So as we go with the inequality, the higher the inequality, the higher the incidence of abuse for the FROGEE survey, which is completely different for the other two databases. However, here I'm talking about abuse, physical abuse. So as you saw in Michal's slides, the abuse that the incidence of reporting was quite consistent between the countries. As we do know, we had another question in the survey that actually looked at more discrete forms of abuse, those more culturally subjective discriminating behaviors, so the gender-based differential treatment. And this is actually, we can see that the higher the inequality, the lower the incidence of these forms of differential treatment. So in this paper, what we would like to look at and conduct some analysis is actually trying to adjust the levels of differential treatment that were reported by doing two kind of simple exercises. So we are actually using the reweighting method, multivariate reweighting. And we are taking Sweden as a comparison country, a reference country, from which we first take social conditions, and then we take cultural norms. We reweight the samples of the other countries in order to see whether the level of differential treatment changes or not. So actually, the basic question here is, if people in the other countries lived under the same social conditions, so they had the same level of educational attainment, the same level of employment, the same level of crime in the area, whether they would report more incidence of differential treatment. And the next level of the analysis, if the cultural norms in these countries were the same as in Sweden, cultural norms understood here as what is perceived as abuse, if abusive behavior is ever justified, and the gender norms. On the gender norms, I'll talk about them a little bit more in a second. So whether changing those gender norms, reweighting by the cultural norms, changes the incidence of differential treatment. So as physical abuse, we look at 2 out of these 5 situations of abuse. Differential treatment is understood here as witnessing 2 out of 3 situations when another woman was called names or insulted for being a woman, being the target of jokes of sexual nature, and received unwanted sexual. Actually, building on Yasia's presentation, we do know the social conditions that correlate with she looked at perceptions, but the same ones correlate with differential treatment and physical abuse. Here are the results of a regression where we put in all the countries and we look at what is significantly correlated with both differential treatment and physical abuse. We also run this regression separately by country. We can see that there are differences between the countries. In our analysis, we use just the social conditions that were significant in all the countries. And we actually use them for reweighting. So we start with the incidence of differential treatment separately for men and women for selected countries. Sweden, again, as I said, the reference country, and then 3 out of the other 7 countries, Armenia, Belarus, and Latvia, in order to just show you what do the different weights do with the incidence of differential treatment. First of all, we reweight the samples to be balanced with Sweden in terms of socioeconomic conditions. And as you can see in all the countries, the incidence goes up incidence of differential treatment goes up, except for Latvia. Here we do not see much change, neither for men nor for women. One important, of course, note here is something already mentioned, is that women in all the countries were more likely to report witnessing differential treatment to women. So it just tells us that women are more aware of such situations. So this is the first level of the analysis. The second one are the cultural norms that we take from the FROGEE survey. So first of all, which types of abusive behavior respondents identify as abuse? 14 situations, yes, I meant 15. There were 15 instances. We do not take quarrels here because actually almost no one considered quarrels as abusive behaviors. Then we have physical, whether physical abuse is ever justifiable in those 5 situations. And we take gender norms, so the attitude toward gender roles in the society. If respondents strongly agreed with any of the statements, a job is all right, but what most women really want is home and children. When jobs are scarce, men should have more right to a job than women, and the preschool child is likely to suffer if the mother works. So we take all this to our reweighting exercise, and we look at the same graph where we have the incidence of differential treatment, and the squares tell us how this changed after reweighting, both for socioeconomic factors and for norms. And actually, there are some interesting results here. Looking at Armenia and men in Armenia, we can see that the incidence goes up. But actually what we find, and this is kind of an interesting and puzzling result, still I do not have an answer to that, is that for women in Armenia, the incidence goes down, it actually goes even below the initial level. That might be due to some technical issues related to entropy balancing that we use in the exercise, but we will look into it. So just to put that into the context of the global databases that I've shown you at the beginning. Differential treatment, as reported in the FROGEE survey, follows the similar trends to incidence of IPV reported by WHO and UN Women. What we do is we try to kind of correct it, adjust it using socioeconomic conditions and cultural norms. We adjusted to these two to Swedish conditions, and we see that the gap is slightly smaller, but still, I mean, in all the countries the incidence goes up, but to a different degree. So there is some country variation here. And just some general conclusion. So we do find that there is an effect of social conditions and cultural norms. So what is perceived as gender-based differential treatment, but there are strong country differences. And it is a suggestion for adjusting the lower the underreported levels of differential treatment. This is one of the methods that we can actually suggest, so adjusting for socioeconomic factors and cultural norms. That's basically everything. I think I can give floor to Maria. And I really hope for your comments, but afterwards. After my